friends? Welcome back to the channel. I am Kevin. This is Reading the Room, and I have a few articles about the Game of Thrones movie that is set to eventually come out. These are, I think, all from yesterday. I wanted to pick the oldest article, which would have been the first article, which was from March 3rd, 9:45 a.m. But as you'll see, I clicked on it, and Page 6 Hollywood let me down. I ain't giving you my email. Sorry. I ain't doing it. You're trying to hide things behind a paywall or a please steal my information wall, and I ain't about that life. So we're going to go to the Hollywood Reporter, which I've used several times. It turns out this was actually the first one. It was actually put out wrong on Google time-wise. This was literally 10 minutes before that other article. So good thing that one had the paywall, or I wouldn't have looked over here. Anywho, so just to briefly go through this, yes, it is set to be a movie. It is officially being developed, and it is with this writer from Andor and House of Cards, which gives me a little bit of hope. Gives me a little bit of hope that Dan and David are staying far, far, far away from this project. So this was going to be something that I had a problem with. We're going to jump around in this article. Was this. So everybody is selling to everyone, and everyone is buying everybody else. Warner Brothers being one of those people being bought. David Ellison, thank God. Apparently he was recently asked what his favorite HBO show was, and he said Game of Thrones. Honestly, I would probably pick the current cash cow as my favorite show as well. So that means it's probably going to go forward. This is something that I think I've talked about at length. Many prequels and sequels, the latter being conceived as potentially centered around Arya Stark or Jon Snow or both. In the grand scheme of possibilities for shows, with George not actually finishing the books yet, those are two possibilities. Arya more than Jon Snow, because Arya's going west. What's west of Westeros? Nobody fucking knows. So you could literally write an entire script for that, and literally it wouldn't mess up what's happening in Westeros. While Jon, theoretically, if they want to go anywhere near the show, he would be north of the Wall, which really wouldn't bother anyone south of the Wall in Westeros. So that would be a decent show as well, where they could throw around basically anything, and it may or may not necessarily be canon. This is something that I was kind of worried about at first. Like I said, I'm jumping around. It is going to be about Aegon the Conqueror, which is fine. We all love that shit. But this is what got me. As reported, the film version is being envisioned as a mammoth, Dune-sized feature film. As you guys know, House of the Dragon, not exactly my favorite show out of the three. It is the least favorite of mine by far, because of the dragons. It seems like they've tried to cover a lot of things, a lot of lore inaccurate things, a lot of, I don't want to say actors acting badly, but you don't have to, try, when at the end of the day you could be like, oh, look at this fucking dragon. While Game of Thrones didn't really have dragons a lot. There was 3 of them, and they were across the world. Nobody saw that shit until the end. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, no dragons at all, which is why it's my favorite show. So the fact that it's going to be a Dune-sized feature film, kind of terrifying to me, because if the larger it is, the more you can mess up. What was the Mel Gibson line from The Patriot? Aim small, miss small. Do with that what you will. So, yes, this is what I was talking about with David and Dan. It was kicked around as early as 2013 when the original series showrunner David and Dan pitched HBO a potential ending the blockbuster series with 3 feature films, a la the Lord of the Rings. HBO balked the idea. Thank God, because those 2 would have fumbled it. Just like they did with the last few seasons. But that's it. That's literally the article. Shout out to James Hibbard for writing the article, but that's it. Just a little bit more news. I'm kind of trying to keep track of this because anything that adds more context to this franchise, I'm down for. There's just so many, not a shot at George, But it's like this with almost every series or every franchise where the author will write books, but there's lots of holes missing in the lore. A character will show up and you don't really know what happens to a character. A character will just pop up out of nowhere and you know nothing about his backstory. I enjoy plugging those holes, and it seems like if they do actually write a script for a movie Dune sized, there's going to be a lot of context and information and details that are going to be forced into the franchise just because of the movie, and I'm down for that. But that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like and subscribe and all that YouTube nonsense. Bye.